Sorry. Ready?
Who are we?
Okay. So this is the Neshoba Regional High School Space Study Meeting, the September 16th, 2015 meeting. First we have up is the approval of the minutes, which we don't have any minutes to approve
Well,
tonight.
we don't have printed copies, but most notably, we don't have a quorum tonight.
Right.
So even if we did have printed copies, we can't vote on anything tonight.
So
We can
we're-
discuss, but we can't make any decisions.
So we'll move on beyond that.
Yeah,
Second point is the request for services bid update that we sent out, and I'll give an update on that. We received two responses, which I think was discussed in the last meeting. We had two responses to the bid, one from MAPC, one from WXY Corporation. Both of those bids were rejected. I was able to send out letters a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, to the different companies, letting them know formally that we rejected the bids. We're going to reevaluate our needs and come back out with another proposal request or another bid request. And we asked them at that point if they would be interested in assisting us with gathering some information to help us further define the needs, help us define our needs and what they saw in their feedback on our requests that we put out before. So we were able to do that. Actually, we were able to meet yesterday. The subcommittee, that's myself, Bob, and Mark, met yesterday for a little while, and we were able to line up three companies. The first one was NESDEC, who during the original bid sent a letter, said they were interested, but they were not interested in bidding based on our submitted RFS. So we reached out to them because they are one of the industry leaders in the area for this type of product, and we did a phone conversation with them yesterday, as well as with WXY and MAPC. So some of the information we got back from them was, I think that the general feeling I got from it was they said, you should formulate and ask very specific questions. So what you did, what we got out of this was you asked a very broad question, but then very pinpoint defined how we should answer it. He goes, you may want to look at that the opposite way, where you ask very specific questions and let us tell you how we think the best way to answer it is. And that was, I thought, the feedback we got from most of the three companies.
Yeah, we got that. That was the feedback we got from all three companies. They said it in different ways, but that's what it amounted to.
Yeah, they had trouble fitting inside the box we defined.
Right.
And unfortunately, when you do that, the pricing went up.
The price went way up.
And NESDEC said, you know, it wasn't that they couldn't do that, they just felt that what they could provide us, we wouldn't be able to afford. So he said, based on what we know from different districts that we've worked with, and we knew it wasn't going to be something that would be competitive and able for you to do.
Was this a conference call, or did you talk to them individually?
We talked to them individually on a conference call.
Okay.
So we first spoke with, we had a 1 o'clock meeting with NESDEC that we did about 40 minutes with each company.
With each company.
And then we moved from 1:30 and 2 o'clock. So we went through each one of the three companies in a row. So it was great because there was some consistency to our questions, because it went one to the next. So we were able to get a pretty good picture of what they were looking for. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back as a group and write those questions and, you know, pass them back and forth. And the thought is, from those questions, we should be able to define a proposal request, rather than going out for a formal RFS, because the cost of this should hopefully be $10,000 or less.
That was
some of the...
Yeah, that was the impression I got, was that the number would be way down
Right.
from the range we had. And as a result, we have more, the process is less specific. The state regulations for a $10,000 or $12,000 RFS are a lot looser than for a $30,000 or $35,000 RFS, which gives us more flexibility in getting their responses, asking them questions, having them do follow-up pricing, and then deciding on that. Or making a recommendation, I shouldn't say, because in the end, we will not decide. I believe the process will be that the school committee decides, because they're the ones that authorized it in the first place, right?
So, just to clarify, when you say it's less specific, does that mean that you have more leeway as far as asking questions, because you don't have to follow?
Correct. This does not have to be a sealed bid.
So is this going to be a not to exceed?
No, I think the way we were looking at it, and we still are open to discussion because we're still talking about it as a subcommittee, is we're going to form a set of questions, and we're going to go to the 3 companies we've identified and maybe a 4th, you know, there were a few other ones out there, and go to them and just ask them for a proposal, demographic and enrollment proposal based on these questions.
So now we're doing RFPs and RFS.
Yes.
Yes. So we won't be going through the formal bid process. We'll receive the proposals back, just like you would if in your house, if you requested 3 plumbers to come in and give you a quote on your bathroom.
Yep.
And the same idea, we'll have those 3 quotes and we can go line item by line item through them. We can add some, and then we could go back out and revise it and say, we like this from this company, this from this one, and try to fine tune it. And then we have the ability also to negotiate price with them at that point, because it's not a sealed bid where we're locked into that lowest responsible bidder or nothing. We can go in this case, and as long as we attempt to get 3 competitive bids, we've met the intent of.
So does that take out, though, the references, because they're on
No.
the state bid list?
No, because we talked about that, we would still require references.
Yes.
Which we can still do. We can frame it any way we want. We can be as specific or as open-ended as we'd like. I think the idea of coming up with 3 or 4 solid questions.
Yeah, I think the difference is with this request for proposal, we'll be asking more specific questions. They'll come back with, here's how we'll answer your, we can answer your questions, and here's how we'll do it. And then we can say, you know, look at that and go, okay, this company's going to do X, Y, Z. This company is going to do A, B, and Z. Okay, well, then we can go back and say, how come you're taking this approach? What's the advantage of that approach?
Okay.
You know, what if you did it this way? You know, what if, you know, and also in the process of that, get a clear definition on what the deliverables are. You know, what's going to be provided in writing, how many copies, what's going to be digital, what's going to be a presentation, how many presentations to who, and all that other fun stuff. But we don't have to specify that down to the extreme detail if we are down around the $10,000 or $12,000
Okay.
expense
Do you
level.
guys have a timeline?
We were hoping, I think the hope
That's
was,
something you're going to discuss.
Yeah, you know, I'd like to get this out as soon as I can.
I'd like to see, you know, if we could get some questions by the end of next week that we
Yeah.
could discuss between ourselves.
There's no advantage to dragging this out.
And one of the things that all these companies said is, this is really a simple request. They're like, you don't have to be so detailed in it. The request, you know, should be defined statement or defined questions of what you want, and let us tell you what we can provide you. And then he goes, and then you can go from there and fine tune it for what you want.
Okay. But only, I know that Mark had a concern because we're kind of unique on the 495 belt because we actually have developable land,
Right.
which is unique in the area. So that still gets addressed a little bit, right?
Well,
Because it's not that
well,
cut and dry.
it should be one of the things that they take into account. Yeah, someone mentioned what's the build-out potential.
Okay.
You know, how would your zoning laws change and stuff like that? And so that would be something that we, you know, it's not your build-out potential so much as your build-out potential in the next 10 to 15 years, right?
Oh yeah, did they have an issue with the time frame? 'Cause we said 15 and then...
They all start getting queasy when you look more than 5 years out.
Oh,
And you know, my problem with that is the school's not going to be built for 5 years, right? So
if at all?
As part of our discussions, as part of the way we frame the questions, we're going to have to emphasize the period beyond 5 years is very important to us. 5 to 15 years is very important to us. And
They gave us the high confidence at 5, fairly high confidence at 10, and then it started dropping off. And this was, I thought, fairly consistent from the three companies, that after 10 years, the confidence dropped off some, because they said
It's not
things,
that surprising. 'Cause
so many things can change in 10 years.
So many
Well,
things.
yeah, and our growth is not linear, our growth is not incremental, our growth is, nothing happens and then it's explosive, right? And then it slows down at some undefined rate and just drags out for a few years, and then you have an explosion in the next 10 or 12 years or something like that, so. You know, I can understand their reluctance, but they need to understand how important that is to us, so they can bring whatever additional skills they have to bear on it.
And then we're going to look at all three towns?
Yes, as, well,
All
independently, well, I think the demographics of the study would have to
Well,
encompass
you know,
data from 3.
Yeah, the requirement that they provide us forecasts for the elementary and middle schools wouldn't change. And I would not expect that in aggregate. I would expect that by town,
Okay.
which is essentially by school,
Okay.
right? Because no town has more than one elementary or one middle school, right?
No,
More than one, no.
no, each one
Okay.
has 1.
Unless you're talking private, but
No,
Yes.
well, we're not talking, we're not going to forecast, we may forecast the kids leaving for private schools, but not for private schools in the district.
okay.
Okay,
So when do you guys meet next?
We didn't set a date.
Okay. Because
But
the next
we
thing you
said-
do is you're going to create the questions and work on the RFP.
My goal was to try to have a draft of some questions squared away for next week, and then email between Bob and Mark that we can come up with, kind of define them a little further by email than meet,
Yeah.
and draft the final document. I think a lot of that can be done.
We can do a lot of that over the phone.
Yeah.
We don't all have to be in the same place. But I'd certainly like to get it out in 2 weeks. That would be
That's where
my goal.
I think that's realistic.
Okay.
Okay, so that's where we are with the RFS. Next item on the agenda was the modular update, which I can give. So we have, well, if anyone's driven behind the school recently, the modular is installed, it's in, it was open for day 1, it was ripped down to the wire, but it was open on day 1. We've been able to do all the full integration of the fire alarms. We obviously have the electricity in there. The wireless networks are fully working in there. The hardwired networks are fully working in there. We've had all the, fire inspections and everything done. We added a fence to for security. We have a fence surrounding it so that, because where it's remote from the building, you have to walk outside. What we found was there could be a breach of security because we have to leave a door of the building open, so we enclosed it with a solid wood fence that is in the process of being finished. Right now, it's a 6-foot fence. We're extending it to 8 feet to make sure that there was concerns that there could be, either students jumping out or jumping in, that a high school student might be able to scale a 6-foot fence.
So we don't have cameras on that?
We
end?
have cameras.
I thought that we need more than cameras?
It was the general intent, and the security of the fence is there, so to extend it to that 8 feet. And
So is it around the whole thing, or does it go across that whole
Be-
alcove?
because it's tucked into that little area, I was able to come off the building to one wall, and then off the other building to the other wall. So just
Okay.
2 little runs of fence
Yep.
with an emergency gate, so that in the case of a fire alarm, we could get outside.
So how did you do budget-wise?
Budget-wise, I'm still finishing things, we do have some work, but I'm on track to meet budget.
Okay.
We look good there. It was,
That was a hot button, so that's good.
yes, I know it was, and I
So when you
was,
say are you in with the initial 85?
Yes.
Or, awesome.
that's where I'm I'm sure, like I said, I'm still finishing up some of the smaller work on it, but everything estimated wise, is coming in where I wanted to, so we should be okay there. I don't foresee any big issues.
So the fencing going to 8 feet is your biggest finish off right now?
Yes. Yeah, that's about gonna wrap it up. We just finished the trim work and the skirt boards, and we painted it the other week and got the handicap ramp in, which, was all the little things you don't think take a while, but really do, because you had the foundations part of the process. I was originally hoping to sit it just simply on piers, but we had to get an engineered foundation plan done, which it's going to be a while. And that was the discussion we had, that it's not really a one-year project. It's going to be there a while. We were able to order projectors for it, so through Dr. Graham's budget, so we have new projectors coming in for that. So it's a very, very comfortable classroom. When you go in there, I've spoke with the teachers who are in there to make sure everything's going okay, and the feedback I'm getting is
everyone at Palmville liked those better than the regular classroom.
They love it.
So, yeah.
It was great because
air conditioning, it was great.
all the air conditioning work, we had to do some tune-up work, but we were able to do that in-house and get all those units up and running. The roof was solid. In the building, we had some rot under the doors. That was a little bit of a surprise, but nothing that we wouldn't figure in some sort of contingency plan. So it is in, it's working. It actually looks, I think it looks nice.
Good. I just have why wood over chain link?
Wood fence over chain link.
Just out of curiosity.
I put the smooth side on the outside so it's not scalable.
Yep.
So that you can't scale from the outside in, and you can't see through it. So I wanted to protect, the students coming in from someone who may be driving around the back of the school, a delivery driver or something. So
Chain link fence you could scale unless you put barbed wire.
unless you put, and I thought the wood looked a little nicer than just more of a cold industrial chain link fence. So try to give it a nice aesthetic where it's going to be there for a while.
Yeah. No, actually, now the art people can paint it.
Yes.
It's good for a mural.
It would be great for a mural. So that's where the modular is right now. It's a few small things, and I'll be reporting out budget to George, and I'm sure he'll pass that on to the school committee.
They'll be happy to hear it.
But short of it is, everyone's in. It's operating. We have 2 new classrooms. Each one of them are holding about, each one of them have about 30 or so desks in it, and I think from what I talked to Perry, it's booked 7 periods a day. I know every time I go over there to do work, it's booked solid. I can't get in one of the classrooms during the day. So, okay. So, any questions on the modular? Great. Next one was opening of school schedule of space update. That was Dr. Graham item. I don't have an update on that.
Okay. Yeah, that
So,
that-
and I spoke with Perry, and he said anything that was for him, if we could push it to the next meeting, push it to the next agenda, and he'd be happy to address it.
Okay.
Next item were parking issues. This one is issued by Michael, but I could probably talk a little bit on the parking plan that we've had at the high school recently to try to help some of the space and congestion in the lot. Over the summer, the student parking lot, we were able to number each spot. So we numbered them 1 through, I think we have 215 numbered spots, and we're adding another 10. So we'll have about 225 numbered spots. So they did at the beginning of the year, they did the come in and buy your spots, and it was quite an event. There was some people up front at 5:30 in the morning. At tailgating, it was interesting. I got a call at about 5:30 in the morning saying we have, kids lined up waiting already, having breakfast out there, and so they made an event out of it, which is great. But talking to Perry, everything went very smooth with that. They had a great turnout, and parking's been, I see a marked difference.
Do you think it's because of the number?
I absolutely think it's because of the number.
So
And
you own a number?
You own a number.
You got to be in that spot.
Okay.
And it's self-regulating in a way, because now if you pull in and someone's parked in your spot, you're obviously going to go in, and we left some spots open for flex space, so, the admin team could allow kids to switch cars around and have a little flexibility if, someone got stuck that day and had to take their parents' car in.
Right.
But the kids are pretty good because they know someone's going to come and park in that spot, and I better not be there. We were able, during that process, also to really identify the no parking areas, and we hatched out a lot of areas at no parking tow zones, and we added a few spots. So before, there was big areas that were supposedly no parking, but it was easy to park a car and still sneak by. So what we did in that case was we added a spot. Because if you're gonna park there anyway, you might as well make it safe and add a proper spot, and then hatch out the areas that we truly can't have parking in. Really, the kids have been great with it. So I think it's made a big difference in the student parking lot. We did a count, we have about 380 total spots at the school at our most recent full parking spot count.
So did you remember the teacher spots?
No, that's I don't know if that's gonna happen.
Are they complaining about parking at all?
I haven't heard anything.
Okay.
Now that the students have
They're
stay home,
So they're not parking in the teacher.
we haven't had that, but spring is usually the time when the juniors get their licenses and everything changes.
Yeah.
So we'll see, comes from that toll parity, let's talk about it, let's relook at it in the spring, and maybe we do, faculty assigned spots. Right now, this seemed to help quite a bit.
Or even if you just have a tag, a color tag,
Faculty sticker.
right? A faculty sticker is.
Well, I believe they do have faculty stickers.
Yeah.
So if you bring a car, you have to have either your parking permit for the lot or a faculty sticker.
No, okay, but those things the students have that hang on the mirrors are really easy to see.
Mhm.
And that,
Are those
That's-
numbered also?
that's not our concern.
Yes.
So you'd have a hanging 21, you'd be in 21.
I don't know if they correspond to the spot number, but,
What, for students?
yeah, they may.
They do.
They do?
They do.
So if you have 215, you're in spot 215?
Yeah, because the issue that happened repeatedly last year is someone had a pass and there was no place to park. Because
Yes.
people who didn't have passes were coming in and using the open spots.
Yeah, that quite a bit.
So, if you've got spot 21, if spot 21 is open, you can't take it. Even if you have a parking pass, you've got to go use your spot.
Yep.
So the strategy then is to arrive just before the bell and go into an empty slot if you don't have a permit.
No, because someone
Then
may,
if someone shows up-
yeah, someone may show up because they had a doctor's appointment, in which
Right.
case, now you're nailed.
Right, but I can see that that would be a strategy that has been going on.
I'm sure it's happened, but from talking to Perry, it's been very easy to remedy because we know that is your
Yeah.
spot and we can find out whose
Plus-
car that is.
Anybody who's just circling and
Do
waiting
you
is
tow? Do
going
you
to,
give them tickets?
they haven't dealt with that yet.
I don't think he's had to deal with that yet. I know they've had discussions on it, I haven't been privy to all of them, but I know they have talked about, either tickets or towing or,
I mean, if you get a ticket, do you have to pay it? I mean, it's not like it'll go back to the DMV
Well, it's
or
not a
anything, but...
public,
well, it could also be a ticket that's assigned to your student account, and without paying off, your student account, you can't do whatever things they don't allow you to do. So,
yeah.
especially get a parking permit for the following year. Which I guess that was a big incentive this year to have.
Yeah, but who hasn't? It's juniors and seniors. The seniors aren't coming back.
No, the seniors won't come back, but that would be a diploma thing.
So is there a plan to issue the senior spots once the seniors leave? So like for a month, they could park?
They didn't do that last year.
They didn't do, well, but we didn't have the assigned spots last year, so
Right.
maybe once that happens.
Is that,
But I would-
like for a reduced price, you get it for a month?
But again,
It's
we're
not a
gonna,
month anymore, so.
yeah, it's not that. But we're gonna talk again in the spring, and that may be, I can leave those up to Perry
Yeah,
and
that
his
could be
team,
at least there's
because,
problems in the spring.
right, they seem to have a good handle with that
So what did
situation.
what did painting the numbers do to the budget? Was that in there?
That was in the budget,
Okay.
but we had that planned for this year. And I think that actually came in under budget, so we have a little money to do some extra work there. Yeah, me too. I'm hoping for a light winter this year.
You and everybody.
Yes.
Not that much.
So that's That's my take on the parking issues. Michael may have had a few other things. We may want to carry that over to next week's agenda in case he had some other areas that,
Are they still looking at using the tennis courts as parking?
not really.
Okay.
Because there's been a lot of pushback, and what we've kind of done is pushed it, working with the town, working with the town manager and, the chief of police and fire, and saying, if this is something you truly, because a lot of the issues become parking on Green Road and blocking it, and I said, if this truly becomes a safety issue, maybe we could get some help from the town side to give us some options, if that is not an option. So we're looking at more of a collaborative effort there to try to come up with a solution, rather than us just saying, hey, the best thing is to park up in that lot. Because, there may be a better solution. So
Has there been any other alternatives to what to do with those tennis courts?
nothing yet. That it's kind of in a holding pattern to the parking situation, because it is a good solution, but it's just not, seems to be the solution for right now. And the selectmen in Bolton did allow, I think they approved signage on Green Road that's been ordered for no parking right by the Green Road entrance to the high school. And I'm working with the DPW to coordinate that effort. So there'll be those hopefully.
Probably up to the cemetery?
I don't even know if they're going that far. There was, I know there was some very specific requirements to the signage that was talked
Okay.
about during their hearings, and the DPW has that, so
Okay.
I'm just supporting at this point.
I know it's kind of off topic, but so aside from, do people use those tennis courts?
Yes.
And then aside from that, it's either going to be tennis courts or parking, there's been no other thought to do anything else there?
No, there hasn't been. It's either, they use it for tennis, it's also used for street hockey. They use that up there. They use it for some other intramural sport. So it does get used, but no, there's right now not a plan in place for a specific use for that.
Okay.
Short of the idea of extending parking. Okay. So next item was the recommendation of next steps, which I think was the discussion.
Yeah.
Of your, that's
So-
the sheets.
I put a couple of things together. As I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, I thought we should go over the two interim reports and see whether or not we truly feel how we stack up against what we said we needed to do. So that's this first one. And these are just cut and paste off the reports. The action items from our first interim report. Understand the consequences of less than a full day of instruction. How much space or facilities are needed to restore full period instruction. I'll let you go through the list. And again, I think the question before the committee, which we can't answer tonight because we don't have a quorum, is are we okay just checking these off the list as done or not? So I'll ask Alita to put this up on the website as a packet for tonight's meeting so other people can take a look at that. But I'd like to get closure on these items. Either say that we accomplished them, or say what else do we have to do. So that's one thing in terms of next steps.
So do you just want us to look at it now, or do you want us to comment on this?
We can comment on it now, but you're just going to have to comment on it again when we
Okay, so just
discuss it. Yeah. And then this second document, and again, this is for discussion as a larger group, because it may affect some things we want to do. Is I went through last spring, the NEASC, the New England Association of Schools and Colleges, I think it was in March, came through the high school for 3 days and collected information related to the high school maintaining its accreditation, which is very important.
We received it though, didn't we?
What, the report?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm just giving background on to what NEASC is. So,
Okay.
yeah, so they were here back in March, and their report, they issued their report 2 or 3 weeks ago. And it's on the school committee, it's on the school district website? I don't remember exactly where. I don't know if it was with the school committee or if it's at the high school website. I think it's on the high school
It's on the high
website for
school
NEASC
website.
report.
High school
Yeah.
website.
Yeah. And so I downloaded it and I read it, and I only made notes here on issues, there's a lot of issues mentioned in that. I only made notes here on issues related to space needs. So I would say that going through that report, as a committee, we pretty much addressed all the same stuff that's in the report, with 2 exceptions. One exception is, in the report, the teachers, and they make a big distinction about this, is the teachers, not the students, feel the cafeteria is inadequate in terms of its size. Not the kitchen, not the food, but the cafeteria itself is inadequate.
The teachers.
The teachers did that, and...
Did it say what the students thought of it?
The students didn't comment on it. I should have it written down here.
Well, it's
It's at the bottom of, yeah. The
teachers
cafet-
identify this issue in interviews, although the students do not identify this as a major issue.
Right. And that's right out of the... Okay. And the second thing that we didn't address, but NEASC does address, is the nurse's office. And that's up at the top of this list, page 49. This is a recommendation of theirs, ensure privacy for students using health services. But when you go back and you read the report, the body of the report, there's nothing in there about students needing more privacy. There's one sentence about what percentage of students feel comfortable going in there and what percentage don't. But there's nothing in there that specifically addresses privacy. So I sent an email to Michael Wood and Perry Graham asking for clarification on this. And Michael Wood says it's definitely a space issue where I believe he said there are curtains instead of walls separating the exam rooms from the waiting room there.
I'm surprised that it is sufficient considering HIPAA.
That it's what?
Sufficient considering HIPAA, because, you know, like my dentist's office had to do major renovation of their reception area in order to
And
accommodate HIPAA requirements.
And NEASC is saying it's not adequate, but it's not something that we've addressed. I don't think it's something that came up on our radar as something we need to address. But now that NEASC has mentioned it, I think it's on our radar.
Well, it's not with this
It's-
curtains, it's not really a...
That's not privacy.
Yeah, I'd have to look at it, because there are individual exam rooms that are sealed, they're closed by a door. There's not a lot of space, so I'm wondering if the issue is the volume of students that come into there, having the limited amount of space. And I do think the nurses probably at times have to speak with students in the lobby, or they may be saying there's just not enough space for the volume.
Yeah, and so my point in bringing it up is just to say that because it's in the NEASC report, we have to address, I think we have to address this, and I want the committee to discuss that and figure out the follow-up when we have a quorum. So, and the same for the cafeteria. But you know, if anyone else is going to read the NEASC report and you see something about space in there that's not on this one-page document, let me know and I'll add it. That document is very repetitious. It's very wordy. You really have to go slow to pull out the nuggets of what it's really saying. And so it's very possible that my eyes glazed over during a couple of sentences relating to space needs.
It is readable.
couple dozen
Um,
pages.
But that would certainly be something we should consider as part of next steps.
Just out of curiosity, on the next page on the back side, like the item 7, having not read the report, but talks about identifying and address facility needs to provide adequate space for effective teaching and learning. So that presumably means they found some sort of deficiency in the
Well-
space needed for teaching and
The
learning?
the way the NEAS report is laid out, they have different sections related to different things. It kind of says what their criteria are, is the first page of the section. Then they've got a big body called conclusions, where basically they tell you everything they know. And then they follow that up with commendations, a list of things that are done well, and then recommendations. And so the big blocks of text that I have in here are taken out of that conclusion section. And I think if you go through that, you'll see, you should be able to go from all of those recommendations back to that block.
So there's no recommendation without the backup up in the conclusions?
There's no recommendation, what?
Without backup up in the conclusions?
Only, as far as space needs go, no. The only place I saw a shortcoming in conclusion was in that ensure privacy for students using health services. And there, I went back and I read the conclusions, that body of text twice, because I figure I must just be missing it, but I wasn't. Michael sent me an email explaining what that was about, and it was clearly an issue not addressed in that conclusion section. So, last thing I have is, I put down my ideas for next steps. And again, the only reason for handing this out tonight is not to promote discussion on them, but just so they're on people's radar, and it may help us have a more effective discussion at the next meeting, which, by the way, we have to schedule. So I think going through these action items from interim reports 1 and 2, there's 2 open items. I made a list of other open issues that the committee may or may not want to consider. And then what I would consider to be next steps for this committee, basically to wind up its work, to issue, do we want to issue a final report? If so, what should be in it? And, so on and so forth.
Basically, when we declare victory?
Yes, basically, what's it take for us to declare victory? So that's all I have.
Any of this you want on the agenda items in the future? I know that the first 2 are scheduled.
Which page are you looking at?
On the last one you passed up. Space Needs Task Force, the title C. The last
Well,
one.
I would, the action items would certainly be on the agenda. I guess everything else on this page would be under the agenda item that says next steps. Even if I've broken it out into 2 separate sections. It's just generally, I think we're at a point where we got to figure out how to wind this up, but people may disagree. As I said once, this is a volunteer activity, it's not a career.
But the RFP was not our reason for being, right?
Was not our reason for being?
Yeah, this wasn't developed because of the RFP.
Right.
No, I would think the RFP would be a tool to help us develop our victory document.
Okay. That helps.
Yeah. Well, if you have any questions about any of this stuff, about what I mean by it, that's fine, but again, to kind of try to decide any of this stuff now is, we're just gonna have to repeat that at the next meeting.
No, I think you did a good job.
Okay. So I don't know if...
So the next item on the agenda is the meeting schedule. We have a recommended next meeting of Wednesday, October 14th. And I did look, that NEASC report is located on the high school's front page, under news and announcements.
$14 is good for me.
I know for those Wednesdays are usually pretty rough. We have like 4 items kind of regularly on Wednesdays. So no, we wouldn't be able to make it on, that'll last, well, historically we were meeting on Thursdays, and I know there was a shift kind of,
Yeah.
you know, kind of through the summer, kind of whatever, Wednesday, which didn't really matter because all the kids' activities and everything else was, were done, but for us, Wednesdays are horrible.
I'd be happy to meet on another day than Wednesday, in fact, as well. I wonder if it makes sense for us to try to meet as if a substitute for the meeting that we don't have a quorum for tonight, and that way we can move a little further forward on the 14th or that week as well. Does anyone have sentiments about a meeting perhaps even in only a week, and then again a meeting on the week of the that includes the 12th of October?
Or maybe even 2 weeks split the difference, and just kind of 2 weeks and another 2 weeks, and I'm all for wrapping things up and you know, kind of
You've been here since the beginning?
yeah.
This is Tuesday, from December?
I try not to think about it.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's right.
No, it's been a long time. They might even be more than 2 years. I can't.
Well, if it would help, I could have Alita send an email out to the full committee and see if there's a date, maybe propose a date in 2 weeks. Want to just pick one? See where we're at.
Yeah, I mean, we could, I don't know, we don't know if Perry and Michael have commitments on the 13th or the 15th.
So today's the 16th, so we didn't. We said Wednesday does not work.
Let's see, is anyone acquainted with when the Tri-Town meeting is coming up? When that date is?
I think I have it.
Are you acquainted with that? I think
It's
Bolton
usually the
is
first
host.
Wednesday, isn't it?
I think Bolton is the host, but
Yeah, they
Are you planning on presenting?
Pardon me?
are. First,
Are you-
1st of October.
Oh, that's a Thursday night?
So that's a Thursday.
Mm.
They said 2 weeks from today is Wednesday, the 30th. I don't know how. I know you have a conflict with Wednesdays. I don't know if there's other conflicts with it, or if we want to try.
Tuesdays or Thursdays,
harder for you.
yeah, I can do that, you know, but
The 30th I could probably do, because they happen to be one of the things that drops out on the 30th, but the 14th is, there's just no way for the 14th of
You can do
October.
the 30th though?
Well,
I
let's
can do the
put
30th as well.
the 30th in, and then and then at the 30th, we can define our next.
Do you want to put a temporary one out there, like
Yeah.
pencil one in, just so it's on?
yeah, I would ask if people are available, I guess the way to do it is, how many people are available on the 14th of October, and how many people are available on the 15th of October?
So right now, we have tentatively scheduled for the 14th, and we could see what that came back with.
Yeah.
And if not, we could try the 15th as an alternate.
Yeah.
Because it just makes it easier in the meeting to say, okay, our next meeting is,
So our next meeting will be Wednesday, September 30th. Send out a notice on that, and then we will
School
ask for
committee's not
feedback.
meeting that night, right?
No,
Okay.
thank you.
no, because you met last week and you'll meet next week and it's every other week, so.
And then we'll send out, we'll have the 14th and 15th, and we'll get
Yeah,
some feedback from the committee of which date works better,
okay,
where we can get the most people.
okay, sounds good.
Okay? Well, our next item is adjourned, but I don't know if there's any questions or comments.
I just have a question, 'cause last Tri-Town you spoke, right?
I spoke at a Tri-Town, I don't know if that was the last one.
Are you
I think it
planning on
was.
doing it again?
Speaking again?
Yeah.
We had a report there to describe and refer to, so that was the motivator to, well, for the school committee to show up as well as for,
Right.
We could just generally talk about what's going on in here.
I don't know, I don't know if we have anything to report yet. Probably won't until the RFS goes out, right? Or RFP.
No, no, I don't think we've got any,
No.
Okay.
anything new
Anything
here.
new that's,
Okay.
okay, well,
So I move we adjourn?
second?
Well, we don't need a second, because
Yeah,
there's no
because there's
quorum.
no- Yeah, that's right, there's no quorum, so we can,
We can just get up and go.
all right. Thank you,
All right,
everybody.
thank you.